Loneliness has a strange way of creeping into ordinary days. For me, it usually arrived around late afternoon, when the coffee shop near my apartment started emptying out. The same wooden tables, the same quiet music, the same routine of pretending to work while watching strangers pass by the window. I was 27 and living alone in a city that always seemed louder than I felt. That afternoon, I was sitting by the window again, laptop open, barely typing anything. That's when she walked in. She looked like she had just stepped out of a breeze. Dark hair, slightly messy, a soft gray coat wrapped around her shoulders, and the kind of tired smile people wear when they've had a long day but still believe tomorrow might be better. She ordered tea instead of coffee. I noticed that for some reason. The cafe was crowded, and the only empty seat left was across from me. She hesitated. "Is this seat taken?" Her voice was calm, slightly careful. I shook my head. "No, go ahead." She sat down, placing a small notebook beside her cup. For a while, neither of us spoke. Just the quiet rhythm of typing and the sound of the espresso machine. Then she sighed softly. "Do you ever feel like everyone else knows what they're doing with their life except you?" I looked up. That question caught me off guard. I laughed lightly. "Pretty much every day." She smiled. "I'm Nora," she said. "Daniel." That was it. No dramatic moment. Just two strangers sharing a small table and a quiet kind of honesty. Over the next hour, conversation slipped into place naturally. We talked about small things, music, late-night walks, books neither of us finished. There was a comfort in it, like we weren't trying to impress each other, like we were just existing in the same moment. At one point, she glanced at the rain starting outside. I should probably go, but she didn't stand up immediately. Neither did I. Instead, she looked at my laptop screen. "You work here a lot." "Too much." She laughed softly. Then she picked up her notebook and wrote something quickly before sliding it toward me. "Her number. Maybe we can share this table again sometime." And just like that, she left. The bell above the cafe door rang softly as she stepped into the rain. I stared at the number for a long time. For the first time in months, the loneliness didn't feel so loud. But what I didn't know then was that Nora had already been living a life full of decisions she hadn't told anyone about, not even the people closest to her. And that quiet little number on my table would slowly lead us into a romantic breakup story neither of us expected. The first few weeks with Nora felt effortless. We met again at the same cafe, then again the next week, and eventually it became routine. Routine in the best way. One night, we walked through the city park after dinner, sharing a cheap bag of roasted peanuts from a street vendor. She laughed easily, the kind of laugh that made strangers glance over without knowing why. "Careful," I told her. "You're dropping half the bag." "I'm feeding the pigeons," she said. "Those pigeons are very spoiled." She nudged my shoulder. That was the first moment I realized I liked her more than I expected. Another night, we cooked dinner in my small apartment. The kitchen was barely big enough for two people, so we kept bumping into each other. "Your cutting skills are terrible," she said, watching me slice vegetables. "Hey, I'm trying." She smiled and gently moved my hand aside. "Here." Her fingers brushed mine briefly. Neither of us said anything. The silence felt warm. The third moment happened late one evening on my balcony. The city lights flickered below us. She was quiet that night. "Everything okay?" I asked. She took a deep breath. "My parents think I should already have everything figured out. Career, life, all of it." "Do you?" She shook her head. "I'm still searching." Then she looked at me carefully. "I'm scared of wasting time." I didn't know it then, but that sentence carried more meaning than I understood. Because Nora wasn't just thinking about life. She was already planning changes that would slowly test our relationship timing. Still, at that moment, everything felt simple. We had our routines, morning texts, late-night walks, Sunday breakfasts. The comfort phase had begun, and somewhere in that comfort, we were quietly building a realistic love story neither of us had planned. The first crack was barely noticeable. We were sitting in the park one afternoon when Nora asked a question that seemed casual. "Would you ever move to another city?" I shrugged. "I like it here. What if something important was somewhere else?" I thought about it for a moment. "I guess it would depend." She nodded slowly, but something in her expression changed. Not disappointment exactly, just thoughtfulness. Over the next few weeks, I noticed small shifts. Sometimes she seemed distant. Sometimes she stared at her phone longer than usual. Nothing dramatic. No fights. No arguments. Just quiet thinking. One night, while she was in the kitchen making tea, I caught myself wondering something strange. Was she already imagining a future that didn't include this apartment? Did she see something ahead that I couldn't? I never asked. Instead, I told myself I was overthinking. But silence has a way of growing heavier when questions stay unspoken. The turning point came on a Tuesday evening. We were sitting on my balcony again, the same place where she once confessed her fears. But this time her posture was different. Shoulders slightly tense. Hands folded together. "I got an offer," she said quietly. "For what?" "A research program in another country." The words hung in the air. "How long?" 2 years. I nodded slowly. "That's amazing." She looked at me carefully. "You're not surprised. I guess I knew you wanted something bigger." She smiled sadly. "I didn't know how to tell you." The silence between us stretched. The city lights flickered below like distant signals. Finally, she said softly, "I think this might be something I need to do." I understood, but understanding doesn't make moments easier. After that night, things changed. Not suddenly, but gradually. Texts became shorter. Calls were sometimes missed. We still saw each other, but conversations felt lighter, almost careful, like we were both trying not to touch the subject waiting between us. One evening we went to dinner like we used to. Same restaurant, same table. For a moment, it almost felt normal again. She laughed at something I said, and I thought maybe we could ignore the future long enough to stay here. But on the walk home, she checked her phone. "Sorry," she said. "It's the program coordinator." And the reality returned. Later that night, I typed a message. "Do you think we're slowly saying goodbye without admitting it?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I deleted it. The message stayed unsent. We ended things on a quiet park bench. No dramatic setting, just a cold evening and falling leaves. Nora sat beside me, hands tucked inside her coat. "I leave in 3 weeks," she said. "I know." Silence. A long one. Finally, she looked at me. "You deserve someone whose life fits with yours." I shook my head slightly. "This isn't about deserving." She nodded slowly. "It's about timing." That phrase landed heavy between us. The truth was simple. We loved each other, but our paths were moving in different directions. "I don't want us to resent each other later," she said. "Me neither." We sat there quietly, both staring ahead. This was what a mature breakup looked like. No anger, just honesty. Finally, she whispered, "Maybe we met at the right moment, just not the right time." I exhaled slowly. A classic right person, wrong time story. Before she stood up, she squeezed my hand gently. Then she said the line that stayed with me long after she left. "Some love stories end with goodbye, but that doesn't make them mistakes." Months passed, then a year. Life slowly filled the empty space as she left. I changed jobs, moved apartments, started seeing the city differently. Sometimes I still walked past the cafe where we met. Sometimes I sat at the same table, not because I was waiting, but because it reminded me of something important. Loving someone doesn't always mean keeping them. Sometimes letting go with love is the most honest thing two people can do. Our emotional love story didn't end with betrayal. It ended with understanding. And strangely, that made it easier to remember. If I learned anything from Nora, it's this: love can be real, deep, and meaningful, even when it isn't forever. And sometimes the bravest thing two people can do is accept that they're growing apart without turning love into something bitter. Because the truth about every realistic love story is simple. Timing matters. And sometimes the right person enters your life just to teach you how to let go. Final line. Some people are meant to stay in your heart, not in your future.